Hello. Susan and I are going to talk about the Is There a Better Way workshops that you might have heard referred to over the last couple of days. You've heard a bit about us. Would have heard that Susan, maybe not yet, Susan's very close friends and on the microboard of a young man who has behaviours which can be seen as challenging. So for both of us, this is a very personal thing and personal work that we're doing. I'm a mum, of course, and you will have heard that I'm chair of the Positive Behaviour Framework Guiding Committee that has more than 45 organisations on it. And, you know, I just wanted to say we know that lots of us have really, really negative, damaging, soul-destroying interactions with services. We talk to a lot of families, and that's what we hear. And we hear that lots of us just choose to completely disengage from services because they often do a lot more harm than good. And I guess part of the message for us, and you know, look, I've certainly had that experience as well. You don't want to get me started on our experience of therapy for most of my son's school years. You know, I've had lots of stuff around compliance and all sorts of things happen that have not been great. So it was actually a pretty big deal. Yes. Turn it up? Sure. Is that better? Okay. Thanks. Yeah, that'd be really good. Thanks, Mike, for the mic. It was actually quite a big step for me to agree to be chair of this committee 5 or 6 years ago because I didn't have particularly positive feelings towards services or our experiences of it, but I did have some unanswered questions, and I had some hope that maybe working in partnership with the Commission that might help me to find some answers, and it really has. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. This has been a really good experience for me, and it's really renewed my hope that this can work, and that if we set this up properly and thoughtfully, that we can have relationships with systems and services that are productive. The missing ingredient is a willingness to listen to us. And it's absolutely been my experience, you know, from the leadership of this project. I know Mike Cubbage and Jaquie are both here today, both been demonstrated a really profound commitment to and willingness to listen to us. That's why we're all here today. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you. I think it's really important. So we've been supported to develop Is There a Better Way training, which is for families and service providers to attend together, but primarily for families. And it's been designed by families for families. It's got family stories in it, family perspectives in it. And when we started out doing that, we actually thought about what do we wish that we knew before. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how that's been for me and our family. So when my son was growing up, I actually didn't know that there was a name for this. It wasn't until I was asked to join the Positive Behaviours Guiding Committee, which is about supporting people experiencing challenging behaviour, that I even heard the term challenging behaviour. I didn't know it was a thing. I just didn't know what the language was, and I certainly didn't know there was all of you guys out there going through similar stuff. Like most families kind of shut down for quite a long time and felt some shame and some anxiety and some guilt and some self-blame and all of that other stuff that happens when you don't understand something. You don't really know what it's called, so it's really hard to go and get some help for it. So I didn't understand that there were some real and very intelligent and justifiable reasons for behaviour. That behaviour was telling us that something was wrong, that some of the things we did in response to his behaviour might actually not have been great or might have been damaging for him, and I carry huge amounts of regret for some of the stuff that we've done in response to my son's behaviour over the years. That's part of the journey, I think. And I certainly didn't know that there were better ways to do this. I really wish I could go back and tell myself that his behaviour wasn't because he was naughty or that he wanted to hurt us or that there was something wrong with him. And I wish that I'd understood, or someone had told me, that his behaviour was in fact a sign of his magnificence as a person, of his inner strength, of his determination to reach out to us and to keep on reaching out in the hope and belief that we would someday somehow hear him. So our kids and our family members are beautiful and they're extraordinary in their willingness to keep trying, I think. And I think when we shift our perspective on what they're doing to that, sometimes that alone can change things. I also really wish someone had acknowledged how very, very tired we must all be. Not just us, but also him. This is hard for all of us. So we all get, lots of pity at varying times, and none of us actually want that, do we? It's not good, but we do want some understanding that it's hard for everybody, that we're all anxious. We're anxious about today and tomorrow and next week and Christmas, and we're anxious about the future, that it's not easy, and it's certainly not easy to find an answer, but that there is a reason to be hopeful. There are answers out there somewhere, and there's a possibility of a better future. I think as well, for me, it's never seemed to be that simple. So for quite a long time we had you just got to figure out the ABC thing, what happened before and what happened afterwards. So you figure out the trigger, we figure out if there's rewarding consequences, and hey presto, you've got an answer to your behavioural challenges. And we kind of just never fit into that stuff. I used to teach that stuff to people. I feel bad about that now too, but there you go. And look, I'm not saying that's not useful. That's certainly a part of the solution, but looking at things from that point of view actually doesn't get us to that deeper thing of what's actually wrong. What's actually wrong here, and what does the person need, and the complexity of the people that we love. I think for us as well, and some people today, but not everyone, has sons and daughters with complex communication needs. So that's been a big part of our journey as well over the past 6 years especially, and a really big part of the answer for us. And I think, I figured this out by doing this work with the Commission and talking to people and being able to have some conversations. And where we've come to is, it's been about supporting him to have a way to say that something's wrong, instead of needing to behave in challenging ways to do that. I know you heard a lot of that yesterday, but it really seems to be quite important. And I'm really proud of my son, because he's invented a sign to say that something's wrong now. So he can tell us that something's wrong just with a hand movement, and then we know to go and get his book, and he can actually tell us now what's wrong. That's taken 6 years, but I think that's a really fantastic place to get to, and something that we need to support the people we love to work towards, to be able to identify for themselves when something's going wrong, to be able to tell somebody, and to be able to ask for what they need. So I thought I'd just share some of the stuff for us. This is just us, it's not the answer for everyone, but some of the things we've figured out from some problem solving. These are some of the things that go wrong. So there was a period of time where, because we don't live together, he was coming to my house and doing some things that I saw as challenging, and couldn't figure that out. We actually sat down with his communication book and talked about that one day, and he told me that was happening because he didn't know what to do when he came to my house. I don't know what to do, so I do this stuff. And so we planned it out and figured out that he wanted some books about trains to read, and some music to listen to, and some YouTube videos, and some snacks. And we have all that set up now when he comes over, and neither of us annoy each other, which is really good. Sometimes it's because he's bored with sometimes his entire life, which has been okay, but people grow and develop, and what was good last month actually might not be so good now. And that's a really big driver. Needing more choice and control. Needing to know what's happening today, next, why my plans have changed unexpectedly. We've discovered that pain and sickness is a huge one, and not everyone can say what's wrong or where that thing is wrong. And sometimes even if you can use words to communicate, saying what's wrong can be really tricky. I think it's something we don't always recognise. Sometimes we feel pain somewhere else to where the pain actually is, or, it's a little bit, if you think about, sometimes the pain's always been there, and it's been there for so long that you don't even know that it's pain anymore. you think if you've ever experienced anxiety, if anxiety is just part of your normal part of who you are, you don't even know that you feel it. You just think that's normal to feel that way all the time. So he's learned to tell us he has a toothache, that he has tinea, that he has a very large boil no one's noticed, seizures. And I just wanted to share one last one. We had a thing happen just last week where he was saying that he had a lot of pain in his feet, using his walk, got pain in my toes, taking his shoes off, and, you know, doing everything to show us that there was something going wrong. And, you know, we went to the doctor and went to the physio, and no one can find anything wrong with his feet. And then you're nodding at me, Eli. Luckily, Matt got his investigator hat on and discovered that a pair of his socks had worked their way down to the bottom of his shoes, and no one had noticed. There was actually no room in his shoes for his feet to go, and that's why his toes hurt. So I think one thing for us has been looking for the ordinary as well, in terms of what might be wrong and driving things. That's a bit about our story. So is there a better way to the workshop I wish I had? And Susan's going to tell you a bit more about why.
I'd just like to acknowledge you, Eli, and your willingness for your story to be shared in this way. Thank you. So, yeah, here's some quotes from people who've been part of the Is There a Better Way workshops that we've done around the state. And some of those have been people in service provider roles coming along with families. Some of those quotes are from families themselves. It's been really, really wonderful when people have come along with, say, the teacher of their child or the education assistant or other people who are connected with the person. Because when there's a couple of people, at least two or maybe even a group of four who come to do this learning together in relation to one person that they're all connected with, what they take away then is a shared learning outcome, some ideas that they're going to put into practice. And the sort of converse of that is that a mum or a dad comes on their own, gets fired up, goes home and tries to share that enthusiasm or that vision for the rest of the family or the teacher or the doctor or something like that. It's a really hard position to start from. So we're always encouraging people to come with a group of supporters. And the other advantage of this territory is that it's quite neutral. We try and set the scene at the very beginning that there will be difficult emotions that people feel when they think about challenging behaviour and how they've responded. It will surface some really sensitive issues for people. So that's to be expected. We always have additional family facilitators in the room, so if it gets difficult for people, they need some one-to-one time to talk that through, they can exit the room and just go and have a more focused discussion, or maybe just chill out for a bit. But that setting does seem to allow for an open discussion around tricky stuff between particularly people who are trying to provide support in a paid way and family members. I'd probably just like to acknowledge at this point that initially there was a big focus on the Commission's Code of Practice for the elimination of restrictive practice. And so you can imagine that when we're thinking about restrictive practice, how that's used to manage behaviour, whether it's the use of medication, or whether it's the sort of seclusion or timeout or some sort of punishment stuff that goes in relation to behaviour. Very, very sensitive content to be working with. But it seemed, Is There a Better Way? It seems to be a context that works okay to surface that tricky stuff. And I'd just like to acknowledge Mike Cubbage now. Would you like to make mention of the Code of Practice, please?
If I don't have a mic first, I'll be very brief. Some people will be a relief. But I just want to acknowledge the fact that when we started this journey, we asked Jaquie and Susan to help us to actually start developing awareness across the whole of the disability sector about the use of restrictive practices. This journey started back in 2007 when there was a review of disability services. And, you know, the Minister had actually initiated that review. And one of the things that came out very clearly was that the quality of life perspective of the family, this is actually a Bill of Rights for your sons and daughters and your loved ones. These are the sort of expectations which would govern the way that services are provided. But what we needed to do was have a way to reach out to services and for them to reach out to families to have this conversation. And we recognised that really, in a sense, to talk with families, it needs to be something that recognises the lived reality of a family's life and the difficulties and challenges that exist there. So that's where we approached Jaquie and Susan to actually support us to develop training across the sector for disability services, but to open the space up that services and families can talk together about this stuff. That was where Is There a Better Way started, but it soon grew into being something much more significant than that as well. It became an opportunity for families to talk together about their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations and their challenges as well. And it's fulfilled everything, every expectation we'd ever hoped for that. And the feedback that you can see from this experience is really genuine, and I hear that so often as well too. If you're interested, there's plenty of copies of this document here if you'd like to take one away. It's all about helping services to get it right and have some clear expectations about the things that are acceptable and the things that are not acceptable in the way that people with disabilities are supported as well. So,
Okay.
thank you.
So just quickly, the messages that we try to get through in Is There a Better Way is there is no simple solution. Yay, I'm not the problem here. You know, it seems to be such a sense of relief for families that there is no simple solution. So, and there are no experts. So, but what is needed is everyone's expertise around the table. Okay, so there's no one person that's going to come in and solve this problem, but the evidence that we put to people from some lived experience is that when people with expertise, including families, particularly families, are around the table contributing to next steps, then there can be some progress. One of the other messages is that if my human rights are overlooked, I get challenging. Any of us do. What's one of the other messages? These are on my slides that are deleted. Okay, I'll leave that. Just in relation to the concepts that we're trying to tease out with people, and I should say in reference to Mike's last comment that one of the reasons that Is There a Better Way is different than what it was when it began is because it's continually developed by families with families, so the content is forever dynamic because we're all learning together. So Jaquie and I may have a key role in facilitating it, but all the participant families contribute back, and the next time we deliver it, it's kind of nuanced based on what we're continuing to learn. So the concepts are around human rights, they're around the role of relationships, particularly friendships, and opportunities to learn, opportunities to contribute in the way of work in particular, how all these things have an impact on how a person is, how a person behaves. So we tease out all those concepts. And just lastly, in relation to the tools, I think one of the other reasons that people are finding it helpful is that the tools are universally accessible. So we try and deliver and facilitate the discussions in ways that are accessible for everyone. So we use a lot of video, we use a lot of resources like a set of cards. We just try and use principles of universal design to make it accessible to everyone in the room, and also give people a starting point. I think one of the feedback things that we've got about this set of behaviour cards that we use is that it actually gives people a point to start. You don't have to have a qualification in behaviour support plans. It's just that if you use these cards, you can quickly map out what's my first intuitive response to what's happening here and what's wrong. And the other bit about it, in the context of the learning group, you're doing that with a bunch of supporters. You've got your first experience really of maybe your first experience of a collective of people who are actually exploring that with you, alongside you. And our hope is that because of that experience, that people will go from the learning opportunity to then doing that in the context of their broader group of supporters, family members, neighbours, professionals, whoever they may be, people who are invested in that person's life. So just to quickly finish, I'm going to show you a clip that we use. And I'd like to acknowledge the contributor to that clip, as she's in the room. Thank you, Helen. We're going to use a clip from Is There a Better Way? Helen's from Albany, and this is in relation to her son.
We got help through Mary Lou, who came down from Perth, and she showed us a way of looking at what was happening, trying to make get some understanding of what it potentially could be, and then looking at responses. So for everything that he did, we could then start to look very intentionally at what is this saying to us, and not being right in it necessarily, but at least having your best guess at what he would be trying to tell you with that movement or vocalisation or whatever, and then what a potential response could be. And it immediately framed it very differently, that you could look at everything he was doing and try and deduce what he was trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. So it made a huge difference in terms of being very aware of the fact that there were lots of nuances of vocalising and movement and all kinds of things that actually meant something. And one of the workers had really started to pick up just some nuance of the really strong vocalising that she worked out meant something quite specific.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, really that he needed to be put on the commode, that when this sound came it was like he was really indicating I really need to be going on the commode. So, and that was something we'd never even thought about him doing, that had been introduced, and she was right, you know. So it took, and it takes time, just takes time, but there was an interest and an awareness there that allowed for that to happen, and it's made a huge difference to Liam. He just has days where he just plays. He just, you know, the more thing he does with his hand when he wants more to eat. And some days he'll just go like that and that and that, and he'll look at you and he'll laugh, and then he goes, no, I'm not going to do that.
Do you want any more? Do you want any more?
You know, but he just does stuff that is just so connected in with you. And if you're available for that, it's his way of playing with you and just going, you know, just watch what I'm going to do now. And he's happy, like he's happy a lot. He laughs a lot. And he's just very chilled out, very chilled out. Yeah, if you took a video of the before and now, it's unrecognisable.
Some people think that just because you don't talk, you've got nothing to say. That's not okay.
Thank you, Helen. Okay. What I'd like to just finish with is another clip which actually describes how Is There a Better Way works in conjunction with Side by Side. So we have had the opportunity to run this in a number of regional settings and also in the metro area. But if you think this might be something that you're interested to be happening in your area, or you want to be able to attend one of these learning opportunities, there's a bit of info in this clip that will give you some insights on how to do that.
Universe provides Is There a Better Way learning opportunities in parallel with the Side by Side project, which is provided by Developmental Disability WA. Both are part of a family leadership initiative supported by the Disability Services Commission as part of DSC's Positive Behaviour Framework. They have similar objectives and complementary processes for building support around families, particularly those who are experiencing behaviour which can be challenging. The following information is about Is There a Better Way learning opportunities. We hesitate to call them workshops because many families describe themselves as workshopped out, and there are several points of difference between Is There a Better Way learning opportunities and typical workshop experiences. Is There a Better Way explores frameworks for thinking about disability, how they've developed over time, how they influence the expectations we have, and the way we respond to a person. Universe family facilitators share local stories from a contemporary disability framework about the building blocks for a rich, meaningful and typical life. The learning activities reference DSC and other publications which are provided to participants. Each participant also receives a reflective journal and a video resource. Learning sessions run over 3 days, each separated by a week to allow for sharing and testing out of ideas. Behaviour cards are used to apply the learning from each session to supporting a particular person and their family. Families are the primary participants, and particularly families who are responding to behaviour which is challenging. This is not a learning opportunity for a person who has support needs related to behaviour. The value for families is maximised when their supporters join them in the learning. By supporters, we mean extended family, friends and people in paid roles such as local area coordinators, teachers, support workers and staff from disability support and community organisations. We encourage families to invite their supporters to attend all learning sessions with them. LACs and disability service organisation staff may have a support role in assisting families to think about who to invite and what it would take for all parties to attend all of the learning sessions. The approach is consistent with the LAC framework and assists LACs to work more effectively with the families with whom they attend. There is added value when multiple LACs and families from a geographical area attend and take up the follow-on opportunity to become part of the side-by-side project. Our workshop group is made up of hubs of families and their supporters to a maximum of 25 people. Is There a Better Way is a non-clinical expert approach to family and individual support. Families are positioned as having expertise and natural authority in relation to the person they know, love and support. Trials of this approach indicate that the majority of contexts where there is challenging behaviour can be reconstructed in ways which reduce the behaviour without clinical professional intervention. The learning process applies principles of universal design to content delivery to accommodate diverse learning styles. So there are multiple means for both representing ideas and engaging participants. Participants often say that they value the content because it is delivered by families who have already successfully implemented positive behaviour strategies. In addition to 2 primary facilitators, another 2 to 4 Universe family facilitators support small group learning. Because the content can be sensitive, Universe family facilitators are also available throughout to respond to individual family support needs if they arise. Families, LACs or DSOs approach Universe to work with them to bring together the group for Is There a Better Way? A 3 to 6 month lead time is ideal for families to consider what it will take for them to attend and who they will invite. Families complete an expression of interest, which includes noting the support they might need. A Universe family facilitator is available for a preliminary meeting with an LAC or DSO team and also throughout the lead-up period with individual interested families. Throughout the 3 to 4 week learning period, Universe sets up contact with the participant group to assist them to stay on track with what they want to try out and to build connections between them. 3 to 6 months later, participants are invited to regather to give feedback on what's been most valuable and what they've tried. The emerging picture is of local hubs of families continuing to apply their learning in their family, school and other contexts with support from their LACs and extended network. Universe is a collective of family leaders who contribute to the development and delivery of Is There a Better Way based on their lived experience of supporting a family member with disability. Universe exists to facilitate people having life to the max, choice, control and friends. As an organisation, Universe is primarily dedicated to establishing microboards as a support structure for people having choice, control and friends. Please contact the Universe Catalyst if you are interested to host Is There a Better Way and to discuss the cost.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to that. I just want to clarify that video clip was made when we were called Universe. We are now officially Microboards Australia, so if you see either of those terms, it's referring to the same organisation. Sorry for the confusion. Thank you.